Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope everything is good. I'll let you know I have not given up on this particular bearing bushing option. I just want you to know that. But what I have realized is just how thin I need to make this, and it's really slow going. I think these must be at least somewhat hardened because the files aren't cutting it nearly as quickly as I'd expect. Um, you know, I tried chucking it on a drill and spinning it against a belt sander, but it got hot way too quick and started like burning rubber and stuff. So I wanted to touch a little bit on work stuff, as that's been a big stressor in my life lately. And I don't like to hide things from anybody. So a lot of stress that I've been feeling. I talked a little bit last week about the project that I'm working on, that I have no clue how the data set was built out. We had a meeting about that yesterday, and while I don't have answers that really help me, I do have answers that seem to help the other DBAs in the room and the other developer to go, okay, I think we can work with that. So hopefully that means that a solution is in process soon. But this week in particular, I am working on a new client wants to see the software that I wrote starting 3 or 4 years ago for professional development. So I've been working a lot on that, and so yesterday, not well. To take you back a few bits, this project doesn't use a framework. I wrote it all by hand in the beginning because that was how I knew how to do it, and I didn't want the time. I didn't have the time or the desire to sink into learning a framework so that I could do this project in a framework. Now that I've used Laravel extensively, I still think I probably would have built this by hand because I'm just annoyed at the way that Laravel really cycles go and whatever. And it's a very small app. It's never going to be a big app. It's never going to be some gargantuan thing that has, 80 different views and all these things that I need to build into it. It's a very simple application that does a few key things, and it does it very quickly and easily and efficiently. So I'm probably going to hand code it forever, for as long as I work on it. But that being said, if you know anything about using a framework, a lot of times frameworks will handle your backend for you. So you can do database changes in code, and then the next time you run your program, it automatically updates everything for you. And it's really convenient when you're working with another developer to do scripting of your database changes so that all environments, databases stay in sync. So a while back, I wrote a little database engine for this app so that I could do my database changes programmatically, and it really helps when I'm testing to make sure that I can, because I've had instances where I have thought I've done it the correct way manually, and then I come to find out that I left some column set as not null, and then it caused error messages and a whole slew of problems. So I've decided I'd do it programmatically. That way I can always reset my test and try it again and make sure that it's working there before I ever put it on the production server. So this week I've been working on completely redoing the database structure for this application. I'm kind of splitting it into different clients get their own, not their own complete database, but their data sits in its own database. And then there's some common data that sits in a main database. So I wrote this big long script yesterday to do all of that work. Not yesterday. It started the day before. I finished it yesterday, tested it a bunch, tested it 2 or 3 times on my local machine, said, okay, it's ready. And I decided I would do it last night at like 10. I try to do updates late because this was a big one. It was moving everything around, and I wanted to make sure I could test before clients were testing it. And then I decided, no, today's my work from home day, so I'll wake up early and I'll do it in the morning and it'll be fine. So I woke up this morning, I checked the application logs to see if anybody was logged in. Nobody was logged in. That was good. So I was the only one up at 6 a.m. this morning working on this, and I decided to go for it, and it all failed. horribly, wonderfully, massively failed. Thankfully, I'm not a complete moron. I had done database dumps just before doing this. I had checked my current the production commit in Git that we were set on, and I copied that down so I could always revert back once I've done this. And so it all failed horribly. I went and checked. None of my table structure got updated. Nothing worked. But I was able to look in the database and see that the database thought that it had run the thing. So what I do is I have a folder where I just throw database stuff. The program, every single time you launch this app, anybody signs into it, it checks that folder and sees if there's anything new in there. And if there is, then it runs it. And it knows that because it stores it in the database. So I saw it was stored in the database. So it had tried to run it. Well, that wasn't the problem. So before I got to research, I just reverted everything, re-imported my MySQL dump, reverted back to that head on Git so that the application would launch and work again for today, and then waited, and then I went and checked the logs and discovered that my database user did not have access to it couldn't create new databases, couldn't create new schemas. It was restricted to just that database, which was a problem. And it was frustrating. As a developer, there's always a struggle between developers and systems people, and I get it. But as a full stack developer, as somebody who has built and deployed and developed and maintained and sold and done all 100% of the work on his applications for so long, having to give up all that control is really weird because, inside the schema of where I work, we pay a lot of money for these guys to give me a server. And this application could exist on a $5 a month box from your random host. It doesn't need anything major. But because the organization has a fear of something, I don't know, I'm extremely restricted on what I'm allowed to do, which is completely frustrating because that $5 box I go get from whoever, domainhost.com, I don't know if that's a place, don't go there, they give me complete access to do whatever the hell I want to do because they can always just flush it. But for some reason, because I work inside of a building with people who do that for a living, I'm not allowed to have access. And man, that's frustrating as hell. So frustrating. But, it's fine. It's not like I was doing something that had to be done today. I need it done by tomorrow because I'm going Friday to go sell this program, and I need to have everything in place that this was building up to. Basically, the main reason I did this database split was so that I could have demo instances up. I could just spin up a demo instance whenever I wanted, and it would just work, and populate it with data, and there you go. But until I can split all that stuff off into its own tables so that I can easily flush and rebuild without disrupting a whole bunch of other problems or other situations, it needed to be done. But it was just, that's my frustrating developer story of the day. Good times. That's what I have for you. Tonight's a busy night. I got meetings and soccer and chilling. So, thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, being wonderful people. I appreciate you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Hey, Alexa, tell me a random fact.
Did you know the national animal of Scotland is the unicorn?
Alexa still has random facts, but Google doesn't.